Good morning, bright and early. Welcome back into JumpStart Sports. I'm Steven Shoemaker with my esteemed co-host Jason Kopp. Been on quite of a hiatus, but we're back like we never left. Jay, how's everything going on your end?
Bum, ba-da-ba, bum, ba-da-ba. I was in Italy.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
Babada boopity.
You know what's the worst part? Like, we were the most obvious tourists because everywhere we went, my sister Jamie and I would go, pizza pasta, mamma mia.
So you were there for 10 days?
Yeah, I was there for 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then
I'm going in a couple weeks with my familia, and I hear there's some overcrowding there, so it's going to be a
where
packed
are you
house.
going?
I believe we're going to Florence, Rome, and the Amalfi Coast.
Oh, that's exactly where I went. So
we're copying you guys. We
yeah.
watched you every step.
Oh, just how I like it. I like being watched. So we went to Sorrento, and then Capri, which was cool. And then we made our way. I didn't even know. Like, I let Jamie and my mom do all of the traveling, the travel planning. So I didn't even know where we were going. Like, I was so out of the loop that when they were like, "All right, we're packing up and going to Rome," I was like, "Really? I didn't know that."
So three questions for you before we dive into some sports.
The answers are blue, 17, and yes.
Well, I was gonna say your favorite food, so blue doesn't work.
Shoot.
Favorite experience, 17, and most embarrassing moment on the trip.
That one actually makes sense. Yes, like all of the moments. Let's see. Favorite food. So, okay, there's this sandwich place called Alantico Veneo, and I probably mispronounced that for anyone Italian, so I'm sorry that I'm dumb. But that sandwich, it's a sandwich shop in Florence, and there's 3 of them. Like, there's 2 and one on the other side, and the lines are like completely out the door, and the sandwiches are incredible. So I had it many years ago when I visited Florence when I was studying abroad, and so I went back there. It was so good. And then the second one was,
well, what kind of sandwich did you get? Is it like a chicken parm type deal or?
and no, it's so they have like very fresh meat. So it was prosciutto, mozzarella, and then it was a truffle paste on it also. And I think basil, and it was on focaccia bread, and super good.
People keep correcting me, and I keep forgetting, but chicken parm is my favorite food, and it's not Italian.
Americanized.
It's American, so
Yes,
I gotta get that out of my head.
You probably can find it some places for those who like just try to appease the Americans.
Okay, you'll have to text me that the name of the place so I can swing by.
Yeah, there's actually supposedly one in New York. I didn't even know that, but I've
not
yet
the same.
It's not authentic. I want the experience. What was your second question, which I answered to 17?
Well, what was your favorite experience in Italy?
My favorite experience, it was probably being in the Amalfi Coast, just because I've never done it before. Like, being in Sorrento and Capri was all new, and the views are insane. Because I've been to Florence, I've been to Rome briefly.
You have to do the 3-hour bus ride to get there.
To where? It's the Amalfi Coast. No, we traveled by boat. So
nice.
But it was pretty nice. Yeah, we didn't actually spend a ton of time like actually on like the beaches or anything, because the beaches are really rocky there. But still super cool, and it's beautiful. So, and then the last question, most embarrassing moment.
Could be either for you or maybe Doug or maybe Karen falling out of a boat or something.
You know her so well. She really does trip everywhere. This isn't like this is just kind of a wild thing that happened. People do not, like, when they're driving, they drive so close together that when we were like on the way, so my sister and I came probably maybe like a week after my parents were there. And when we got picked up from the airport, we started going to the place. These people are so close together that our cab driver clipped the car that was coming, down the hill, took off their mirror, and just kept driving like that was a normal thing. And he just puts his arm out the window and fixes his mirror, and then we just keep driving. And I was like, "We're here."
I thought New York
We're to be
drivers
here.
were bad.
I know. I guess we're all terrible drivers.
I guess so.
I don't really think it was anything too embarrassing, minus like my dad was so worried about like people stealing his money, that he had us wear backpacks in front of us. And I guess he'd be upset if he knew that I was giving away his secrets.
I guess the secret's safe with you and I and our 20 followers.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone, guys.
But yeah, I mean that's life. That's the circle of life. And speaking of circles, with our first topic of today, let's get into a little NFL news. Some of this is kind of dated news, but it's fun stuff to bring up and talk about. Let's talk about the circle of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jay, I know you have something planned for that. Let's just get into this historic NFL quarterback and what he was able to do for the league, the impact he had on the league. And I think when you think of Ryan Fitzpatrick, you don't think of him as being an elite NFL quarterback. I don't think he ever got to a Super Bowl. Never really won.
I don't think so.
I don't know if he ever got to a Pro Bowl either. Never really won many accolades, but the legacy and the impact that he left on the NFL will be everlasting.
I think it all started when like everyone knew who Ryan Fitzpatrick was, and everyone knew that like he just kind of like throws it up, and he's a really tough runner. He's obviously I think he has the record of the score on the Wonderlic, and he's out of Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like the main things people know. But what they don't know, and thanks to Jim Garrity, I don't know if I pronounced your name right, from Twitter, for the Ryan Fitzpatrick cycle, which is crazy true when you really think about all of the teams that he has been on. And there is a list of them. Usually it starts this way. And you can think of this even to the point of like recently with the Buccaneers, right? He gets signed as a backup. Starter gets hurt. Jameis gets hurt. He gets thrown into the game. He plays really well and earns the starting spot. And if you remember when he was on the Buccaneers, Jameis and Ryan Fitzpatrick kept rotating of who was starting like week by week. Then he got he got well paid, and then he sucked. Gets released, and then it all happens again. And he's done this like 3 different times throughout his career. So hence the circle of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Hell of a career, a hell of a beard.
Hell of a career, hell of a beard.
And
when did he start like making waves with that interview? Do you remember he looked like McGregor?
Oh yeah, when he was wearing Deshaun Jackson's chain, so it was on the Bucs. So that might have been in 2017 or 18, one of those years.
Oh, that was on the Bucs.
I believe it was, unless it was on the Jets the year before. I'm pretty sure it was on the Bucs because he had those iconic glasses on and the big chain, and I'm pretty sure that was Deshaun Jackson's stuff.
Love that. But anyway,
yeah, just
that's that.
An incredible 17-year career with, was it 8 different teams?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Just an incredible career for him. And like I said, he wasn't a quarterback that you'd remember as being, an elite quarterback, but he had some waves where he would just come in and, F shit up, and he'd beat teams. Like when he was on the Bucs, he played well. And I remember he had a couple games when he was on the Dolphins where he torched the Eagles, and only had 1 year with the Commanders. But
yeah, that was a damn shame that we never actually really got to see him starting with Terry McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel was also hurt the whole year. That would have been kind of fun to watch. So he played for 9 teams. He started with the Rams, then the Bengals, Bills, Titans, which I don't remember, Texans, which I also don't remember, the Jets, Buccaneers, Dolphins, and then finally the Washington football team, later named the Commanders. He threw for 34,990 yards with 223 touchdowns and 169 interceptions. Nice. Resulting in an 82.3 career passer rating. That's actually not that bad at all.
Yeah, I think it goes to show two things. It goes to show someone who never gave up. He wanted to stay in this league and earn his money and minutes, no matter what team he had to play for, no matter where he had to travel to. And people don't think about how like tiring that is on somebody to have to travel all over the country with their family to play for multiple different teams. It's tiring, and I feel for him. So that's the first thing, and the second thing is it just goes to show how hard it is to be a quarterback in this league. Staying healthy is one thing, but just kind of finding the right fit, kind of like finding a woman. You got to find the right fit for your team, and I hope it sticks. And Fitzpatrick had a lot of ups, but he had a lot of downs, and that's kind of why he bounced around from woman to woman, team to team. But it's impressive.
You muted yourself, Shu.
Just that. Apologies. It just goes to show that you got to give Fitzpatrick a lot of credit because no matter how many doubts teams might have had on him, he kept his chin high and he kept bouncing around and did what he had to do, even if that meant being a backup. And I know a lot of quarterbacks struggle with that, as we saw with Ryan Tannehill recently, not wanting to help out Malik Willis. But Fitzpatrick, when he went to the Dolphins, he could have, put his head low and been upset about the fact that Tua was getting time over him, but he mentored him and did what he had to do and didn't last long. I think he was there for 2 seasons and then he went to the Washington football team at the time, but he
Actually,
is
sorry, I'm just remembering this now. He was also splitting games with Tua because they didn't want him finishing games, right?
Mm-hmm. And they were pretty bad too. So it was just kind of like they were both just not playing great football. But I don't know. You gotta give him a lot of credit just for sticking with it and trying to do what he loved to do every single day. And I'm sure he could still keep playing if he wanted to, but he is getting older. He's 39 years old, and
I think it's also the hip. Something like whatever happened last year that it forced him out and he couldn't come back. I think it was like his hip.
Yeah, and you have to be even though there are a lot of guys you could think of like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL history, who aren't really mobile quarterbacks, but you do have to have some mobility when you're in the pocket and
totally
when you're injured and have a bad hip, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, especially with a terrible team.
Yeah,
better than us.
That's for sure. But hope he has a happy retirement and keeps his beard well groomed.
Me too. If he trim that, if he like shaves the beard, I wouldn't even recognize him.
No, absolutely not. But speaking of legends, another legend we could quickly just talk about. We talked about this in one of our episodes before. Is just John Madden and how they're going to put him on the next Madden cover, and makes sense. I don't know who else they would have put on. Nobody, unless it was Aaron Donald or something like that.
Josh Allen maybe.
Yeah, or Aaron Rodgers for winning back-to-back MVPs, but no one deserves it more than John Madden, hence the name of the game. We wouldn't have this game without him.
Yeah, I think it's a nice tribute to him. They've always used his likeness for like, I don't know, the last 20 years or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, NIL.
Oh yeah, probably actually something like 20 years. So I'm really glad that they did this. It's a nice tribute, and
they'll probably have some sick tribute video when the game comes up, and I'm looking forward to buying the game and kicking your ass.
We'll see. We will see. I'll be the Giants. Well, you did beat me a couple times, I think, right?
I think I've beaten you once, and we did Giants Eagles, and
that hurts my soul.
You just couldn't contain Booby Sanders.
Dang it, Booby.
But speaking of boobies, I mean, speaking of other news and complications in the NFL, I mean, where do we begin with the whole Deshaun Watson thing? I mean,
I don't know anymore.
It's just been a whole roller coaster of like this man is not playing for the next couple of years. Too, when I was with you last, I'm pretty sure it was him getting the fattest contract that
Yes.
he did not deserve, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, he's a elite quarterback, top 10 quarterback in the league, even though he was out, he's been out for the past year. But it's just I'm pretty sure it's up to what 26, 28 lawsuits now
It's
of more.
26 right now, and there's supposedly more coming because I was listening to something this morning that was saying that basically if they made it to March of 2023, not that they would have been in the clear, but it would have been a lot less of an issue. Um, but yeah, so like I think so. The thing that I actually failed to write in this is a couple weeks ago, Deshaun's lawyer Rusty Hardin goes on this. It was something like a 30 for 30. He went on something and basically said it is not illegal to have a happy ending to like at the end of a massage, and everyone's like, what? Like it went from like proclaiming his innocence to now it's just not illegal. So that interview, and I'm really not remembering what he was on specifically, inspired these women to come forward, which is great because again, for what it's worth, and we have said this multiple times, he's obviously a trash human being.
Oh
Like
yeah,
like you said, he got a $230 million guaranteed contract, most in NFL history. It's absolutely disgusting, and supposedly the Brown. I mean, I wonder if the Browns didn't see this coming. The new allegations, and then following that, the New York Times article that went public probably a little less than a week ago now, written by Jenny Vrentas, which stated that Deshaun met with 66 women for massages over a 17-month period, which is way more than anyone thought. And you have to think probably not all of them, which is gross.
yeah.
66 women in
He's
a
clearly
less
got
than a year and a half.
he's clearly got some fetish, some addiction. And I'm pretty sure the funny thing about it is, I feel like any girlfriend, if they found out about this, they'd hit
He has
the.
one right now.
I'm saying they'd hit the door running and be like, "This is cheating. This is unacceptable." But unless she's hanging around for the money, or unless she just thinks she can fix him, it doesn't make any sense. He's a sick human being. I guess technically, like you said, when you get into like a massage room, and you wear like just a robe or whatever, and like technically, I think you can be naked, but
You can be naked.
most people aren't.
They ask you
But,
usually.
but
You have to be.
you're not allowed to touch them, kind of like at a
Oh,
strip club. Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing, but
that's not the same thing.
usually you're not allowed to touch the masseuse. And I'm sure, I could be wrong because I don't know all the details, but he probably just whipped out a bunch of money because that's what he can do. And I don't know if any of it was forceful or not. I haven't looked that deeply in depth into it, but there's definitely got to be some kind of law being broken here.
It's just it's so mind blowing. So the further details were that allegedly, and this is according to Jenny Vrentas, the Texans actually helped him and giving him like non disclosure agreements and making the appointments, which is crazy.
Wow.
Um, it's not normal for a athlete to have more than a couple massage therapists because their body is their job and their livelihood. So it's like it just doesn't add up. Like, but yeah, it's just again. I mean, I know we talked about this so long ago now, but we
Yeah.
bring it back to the Calvin Ridley situation, who got suspended immediately for gambling while he was not on the field or participating or at the facility.
Yeah.
And it really just is like, why hasn't he gotten suspended yet? It's crazy. He should absolutely be suspended the whole year. I think maybe more. Who was it? Trevor Bauer who got suspended for 2 years or something like that in the MLB.
Yeah. Well, that was for raping women, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
That's
not
very different.
it's not the same, but it's still sexual assault.
Yeah.
and it should not be taken lightly. And the fact that there are this many allegations and they haven't even put him on paid leave, like he's still at the
Yeah.
Browns facility, is crazy.
I don't even know if they can do this, but to be like, you're not allowed to play until this is all figured out.
They can
But
put him on the exempt list, and that would do that.
yeah, so two questions stemming from this. One, where does Baker Mayfield play into this, and what do you think is going through his head? And two, what do you think in terms of fantasy? Because I don't know if that question could be answered in terms of a redraft league until we know what happens. But say come, August time for fantasy owners to start drafting in leagues, and this still isn't resolved. Do you stash him as a very like last pick just to have him on your bench in case he does play, or is it not even worth the risk?
I think in a redraft league, I still wouldn't do it. I don't think it's worth it. If you know for sure he's playing, sure. But this isn't like a DeAndre Hopkins where like it's a PED suspension, so you know it's 6 games and he's coming back, right? Like he could get suspended at any point, and then it's just a waste of a roster spot, waste of a draft pick. And again, like I mean, you can't feel good about that. Like you can't feel good about hitting the draft button on this guy.
Yeah. I've seen some videos on Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen them too, where in practice he just hasn't looked good. And I actually had that worry. I was like, as good as he was on his last year with the Texans, he was out for a whole year. So you can't just he's still got so much talent, but you can't expect him to come in and just be, blowing up the field. But
yeah, I mean, like purely from a NFL perspective, he's definitely, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback when healthy, when playing. But like you said, like, and there's just too many question marks for me to be willing to take a risk on him. And I actually talked about this, and you guys will see this come out at some point, the Dynasty startup strategy video. But I did talk about Deshaun Watson at one point, and like, you can look at if you're doing so. I talked about what's called the productive struggle, which is basically selling in your first year and picking up on assets that might deliver like the following year, such as like a Calvin Ridley because he's suspended this year. Deshaun Watson will fall into that category almost definitely. But I just can't get behind Deshaun Watson. I just think he's. And did you listen to the ESPN interview when he came on? Whenever that was, maybe 2 days ago.
I did not.
He just like sounds guilty. Like you could tell that. So this is the first time he's been made public to the media in a little while, and he just sounds guilty.
I think he's 100% guilty. It's just a matter of like, what crime did he commit and what's the penalty for it?
Yeah, like in one of the questions, which I'm glad they asked him, because it was his typical spiel of like, my lawyer is going to answer blah 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 blah, direct questions to my lawyer if I can't answer them. And they asked him like, what are your thoughts on the 66 women that the New York Times article came out with? Do you think that number is correct? And he was just like, I don't think so. And it's like, what do you mean you don't think so? And then of course,
maybe it was 66.
Yeah, he's like 67. And he caught himself, of course, and he goes, but please direct the questions to the lawyer. But it's like, what do you mean you don't think so? 66 women in less than a year and a half? I mean, Jesus, fuck. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
My God. Anyway, to go back to your other question, though. What Baker's part of this? I think Baker is going to be done. I think he's like kind of a baby. Like, I think he's done in a Browns uniform.
I hope so too.
And I mean, like this story has been picking up about how the Panthers are going to trade for him, which, we'll see. If that happens, that will be hilarious because on top of the fact that they'll have the number 1 and number 3 picks of that year for Sam Darnold and Baker, who both did not work out. Then they also have the Robbie Anderson thing, which is hilarious because Robbie Anderson came out publicly and said, I do not want Baker as my quarterback.
Yeah.
So it would be great if they end up teammates.
I hope he doesn't throw him the football once.
But Sam Darnold doesn't.
Yeah, and it's just a shame because it's funny. I'd like to see how many people once the Browns got Deshaun threw on them to win the division. I'm pretty sure the Browns became immediate favorites to win that division, but they still have so much talent. Like, I don't care who the quarterback is. You could just give it to Chubb and Kareem Hunt 50 times a game, and Amari Cooper still has so much talent. So they do have talent on that team. They have a good defense, but
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see the quarterback situation if Deshaun Watson is suspended for the season. Baker Mayfield, who doesn't probably want to play another snap for the Browns if they get rid of him. It's going to be interesting to see who their quarterback will be.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you know that Deshaun gets suspended, let's say Deshaun gets suspended 8 games. I don't know how realistic that is, but let's just say it. Eight games he gets suspended, and you know it before the season begins. How high do you draft Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt? How high do you draft Amari Cooper, knowing that it will be Jacoby Brissett almost definitely throwing him the football for the first 8 weeks of the season? And how would that change your perception of them?
Well, I don't want to give you my fantasy strategies because I'm coming back with vengeance this year.
I'm winning this year, I swear.
Yeah,
One year I will win.
It's an interesting question because Nick Chubb has always been a no later than a maybe 3rd round pick at most. He's usually a 2nd round pick. He's still got so much talent. With Jacoby Brissett, they're going to be giving him the ball even more, which brings up maybe potential injury concerns because I don't know when the last time was that Nick Chubb played a full season.
True. 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, but he's still going to be a 3rd round pick at the least. He still has so much value. I've never been a big fan of teams that have 2 running backs because it's kind of like a split carries thing, and it kind of alternates because there's games where Chubb goes off for 30 fantasy points, and then there's weeks where Kareem Hunt goes off for 30 fantasy points, especially in PPR leagues. So I still think they're like Nick Chubb's a RB1. I really don't consider Kareem Hunt anything more than a flex play. He still has so much talent, but he's not someone who I'm relying on week in and week out. And then with Amari Cooper, there's a reason he got traded. I still think
5th round pick.
Yeah, 5th round pick. I still think he has so much talent, and he's going to get targets. But if without Deshaun Watson, he's not going to be getting the ball like he wants to.
I think so too.
I know they have what's the one guy's name?
They have some decent secondary options.
Yeah, who's the guy with the 2 last names? Who's a deep threat on the Browns?
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, Peoples-Jones.
He's solid.
DPJ. He's solid, but Amari Cooper's not somebody who I consider anything more than a wide receiver 3 because we do 3 wide receivers. He's not someone I'm trusting to really be an elite wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think with Deshaun, I think I'd probably look at him differently.
Yeah, maybe a wide receiver 2, but Amari Cooper really hasn't, even last year he didn't do anything special. He hasn't really balled out in a couple of years, but he still has so much talent.
He's such a good route runner.
Yeah, that's the thing. But it'll be interesting to see how he does this year. I'm interested to see what goes on in Dallas. I think they're just going to be a dumpster fire this year.
Me too. But I hope so, at least.
Yeah, but we'll just have to see. And speaking of other wide receivers, talking a little bit about Tyreek Hill, and that whole trade still blows my mind. I never thought he was going to leave Kansas City, but I think he's going to be very good this year. I do. I think him and Tua are going to work well together. I think he's going to ball out, especially with Jalen Waddle on the field and Gesicki to create space. But I don't know how much I agree with this comment, and I want to get your opinion on it. When Tyreek Hill said Tua is the most accurate quarterback he's ever played with, I don't think you get more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. And I think he's just kind of saying that to just kind of hype up his quarterback because that's what you have to do as a wide receiver. But I don't really agree with that comment.
I don't really agree with it.
I think Tua still has so much he has to prove.
Exactly. Like, if you were saying like Tua at Alabama, maybe Tua at Alabama was unbelievable. But with, what was it, a broken hip or something like that? Like after something like that was so serious, and for all we know, like we're now in the year where he has to prove it, but B, it is a couple years removed from that injury now, and he might have a little bit more mobility again. So, I mean, I think that they will be a rising team. That the Dolphins will. I don't know how Tyreek Hill will do. I don't know. Like for a guy like Jalen Waddle, who's supremely talented, they picked like number 6 overall. It makes you think because he set the rookie record for receptions, and you're like, but now you're adding in a true alpha receiver who they just paid a crap load of money and they have to target. And it's like, how does that split work? Tua's a very accurate quarterback for like the first 5 yards of the field. Like you cannot possibly say that with confidence, like when you're playing against, air. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think there are a lot of people who thought he was going to come out and be like Michael Vick, and that's just not the case. I think his back's against the wall. A very similar situation, kind of to Jalen Hurts in a way, where he's got no excuses now. He's got all the pieces. He needs to go out there and make things happen this year. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is, but
who the Dolphins is?
Huh?
You're saying who the Dolphins backup quarterback is?
Whoever it is, but
it's Teddy Bridgewater.
See, I could easily see Teddy taking over because if Tua doesn't go out there and ball out, Tyreek's going to get pissed off.
I think that will happen sooner than later.
Yeah, the offense is going to get pissed off, and very similar to past years as we talked about with Fitzpatrick, Tua's going to get benched. So he just needs to go out there and prove his worth, or else it's going to be a little too late for him.
So this is on the topic, but like, we think like the Dolphins should be a rising team. Who do you think will be the team that rises the most, like the Bengals did last year, where you thought they'd be good, but you were like, okay, Joe Burrow's coming back from injury. They don't have an O-line, which it still blows my mind they made the Super Bowl without that. Who do you think is the team that takes that next step similar to them last year?
Well, I thought it was going to be the Browns, but with all that controversy going on,
me too.
I really don't know. It's a good question you ask. I think this is kind of a no-brainer, but the biggest one for me is going to be the Raiders. I know that they were a playoff team last year and they're still very good, but getting the best wide receiver in the league helped them out big time. I think Derek Carr, even though I'm not his biggest fan, I think he'll have a very good year. Darren Waller will have a great bounce back year. I think they're easily a team who could get to the AFC Championship this year, kind of like the Bengals.
So I'm not going to be keeping it too far away, but I think it's going to be the Chargers. What they did on defense is terrifying.
And they got Bobby Wagner.
Oh my God. And No. Bobby Wagner went to the Rams.
Oh, you're right. I got my blues and whites mixed up.
I hate colors.
Rats, colorblind.
Khalil Mack went there, and J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson, yes.
Kyle Van Noy went there too, if I'm not mistaken. It's a powerhouse defense now. Joey Bosa on one side and Khalil Mack on the other. Like, that's gross. And then J.C. Jackson with Asante Samuel Jr. taking another step. Like, and Derwin James really healthy this year. I mean, that's scary.
And with how good of a year Justin Herbie had last year, I think
he's fully loaded.
Yeah, he's just going to bounce back. And as long as, they are getting a little bit older, but as long as Keenan Allen and Eckler can stay healthy and, ball out like they did last year, there's no reason why, like you said, the Chargers can't be a competitor this year.
Totally. I think Keenan Allen is like one of those players that I think because it's more like he wins with route running. I feel like he'll last longer in the league.
Yeah. Going to the NFC, because I brought up Bobby Wagner.
Yep.
What do you think the Rams' chances are at repeating? Because they're going all in with giving Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp, the two best players on their team,
Yeah.
these fat contracts. How likely do you think it is for them to repeat this year? Do you think they win over 10? I think it's 10.5 games this year.
I think they'll win over 10.5 games. Nothing's changed really. I mean, defenses will key in on Cooper Cup, Copper Coop. But adding a talent like Allen Robinson, and this will be a topic of discussion for a long time leading up to the season, is Allen Robinson. Like, how do you look at him, because he failed last year, right? He was terrible last year.
Yeah.
But was that because he was checked out? Because the 2 previous seasons he was incredible and he was over 1,000 yards in each, and has historically played amazing with terrible quarterbacks. Now given Matt Stafford, and it makes you think, like, does he have like an Odell like rise where Odell was playing with Baker, everyone thought he was washed, and then he just lit it up when he went to the Rams. So I think there's a very good chance that they will get to the Super Bowl again. I do. Whether they win, because I think the NFC is kind of like, it's like Tom Brady, and I don't really know who else in the NFC is really going to be a strong contender. And I just think that the Rams have the most talent. And adding a guy like Bobby Wagner, like, come on.
Yeah. The Rams have the toughest strength of schedule, as they should, being Super Bowl champs.
Yep.
But I like your take on Allen Robinson, because I think he's just due for a good year. He was just kind of a waste of space on the Bears, who are, just an atrocity of an organization.
Yes, they are.
But losing Bobby Trees, I think, is tough for them. It's going to be interesting to see how he does on the tight ends. I'm assuming OBJ is coming back to the Rams, right?
I think he's going to come back. Sean McVay has said publicly, like, countless times that he wants him back.
Yeah, it's just a matter if he can stay healthy. And then they just have like a 3-headed snake in the back of their backfield with Darrell Henderson. So is Sony Michel still on the team?
Nope, he's on the Dolphins.
You're right, he's on the Dolphins. But Darrell Henderson.
They drafted Kyron Williams from Notre Dame, who already broke his foot.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of blanking on his name. Their rookie running back from last year who got hurt. The Rams running back.
Are you talking about Cam Akers? Cam Akers was a second-year player.
You're right. He came back in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he tore his Achilles and then miraculously came back in like 5 months.
Yeah, but Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, and I'm sure they'll have a third running back as well. But they have so much talent on that team. The ceiling's the roof for them.
Ceiling's the roof. I think the AFC is going to be where all the competition is, because I think the NFC is just not that good still.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's top heavy.
Yeah, I agree. If you look at just look at the NFC teams who you think could be competitors this year, the Packers, I think, are a little bit out of the question. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a tough time this year. Maybe they sneak into the playoffs, but I think they're going to have a tough time. Going to be interesting to see what the Vikings do. So
they're an exciting team. Low key.
I think at the end of the day, it's really just between the Buccaneers stopping Tom Brady and the Rams, because you want to see the Saints try to bounce back and have a good year.
It's kind of tough to see that with Jameis's injury, though.
Yeah, and then you still have
Alvin
so much.
Kamara. Is he going to get arrested?
Exactly. They still have that going on, that case, and then you still have a lot of talent with the Cardinals and the 49ers in that division, but
that's true.
It's hard to see either of those teams going far.
As much as it pains me, I mean, the Eagles will be probably pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think I could see us winning the division this year, but at the end of the day, it's what can Jalen Hurts do for us?
That's true. We
maybe could sneak by the first round, but if we play the Bucs again or something like that, we're not getting past them.
It'll be tough sledding. I mean, at that point in time, Chris Godwin should be back pretty healthy. They signed Russell Gage to a pretty large contract, which was surprising. And Mike Evans is just Mike Evans. So somehow he'll fall to 1,000 yards. He'll crawl his way in there. So a couple other, one other one, then this just happened yesterday, but Minkah Fitzpatrick got a humongous contract. 4 years, $73.6 million. what do you think that means for like the safety position? Because I feel like in general, I mean, you definitely have like those top end safeties, but usually that position's kind of undervalued.
Yeah, it's very undervalued, and it goes to show the importance of it. I don't know if he deserves that much money, but
Yeah, I don't know.
he's so talented. So I mean, it's really with any position because you see like some cornerbacks and the contracts that they get. Maybe you could make the argument. Obviously, the cornerback is a more important and vital position than the safety position is, but the amount of money these players are getting, I think it's more of an attest to how good they are as a player than the importance of their position.
Absolutely. Let's just keep this moving along so we can get to some NBA content as
Choo
well.
choo.
Chugga. Okay. This one I just thought was a funny thing. Like the Patriots offensive play caller right now is Joe Judge.
Yeah, they're
Supposedly.
screwed.
They're just screwed. Yeah. Like I've also seen some stuff that Matt Patricia is going to take over offensive duties, which is, he's a defensive
So
coordinator.
interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting how good they were last year because they have no offensive weapons, but
It's
Mac Jones just
unbelievable.
played incredible. Going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see if he continues to rise or if he has a sophomore slump.
Yeah, and like, what does Devontae Parker do for that offense? Like, Devontae Parker is no slouch, but like, he's not that good, and like they have him and Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, and what the hell is Jonnu Smith doing with Hunter Henry? Like nothing.
N'Keal Harry.
I can't believe he's still on the team. I'm like, they tried to find a trade partner, and I bet you they couldn't get anything more than like. Well, in the NBA, there's cash considerations. I don't think that's a thing in the NFL.
Yeah. But talking about Mac Jones potentially having a sophomore slump, do you think he takes the biggest leap for second year quarterbacks, or do you think there's someone else like Trey Lance who is supposed to be the starting quarterback who is in
Yeah,
realistically the best situation of second year quarterbacks to take a big leap this year?
I definitely think that Trey Lance is the most likely to excel, but there's also a very, very real possibility he's just not good. And if that's the case, they are screwed because they put what 3 first-round picks just to move up to get him. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I mean, they wanted something very different from Jimmy Garoppolo, which I get because he wasn't putting them over the edge. But Jimmy Garoppolo was like, I mean, he almost led them to another Super Bowl. So it's kind of nuts to me that they moved on from him, or
I want
trying to
to
move on
I
from
want to
him.
bring up a funny point quickly. You
Yeah,
know
go.
when the Sixers got Harden, how you were like,
Yes.
this is Sixers fans being like, "Oh, we got this player, now we're going to be so good."
Yes.
Trying to ride the hype train. Well, it's pretty clear that, Philly sports fans don't like New York sports fans and vice versa for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
I
Well,
hate you.
yeah. Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is how I feel about Jets fans. So many Jets fans think they're going to be good this year, and they're riding the hype train and being like, "Oh, we made all these, acquisitions in the offseason, all these
Mhm.
draft picks." I don't think Zach Wilson's a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be good this year. It just pisses me off when you see a Jets fan. I have
Like
many
Zach
friends who are
Lopez.
Jets fans. You have Jets fans, friends who are Jets fans, and they just like love riding that hype train
Hmm.
and being like, "Oh, we're gonna hit our over this year. We're gonna have a good year." It's not gonna happen. You know, at the end of the season, come back to me and watch this episode. The Jets are not going to be good this year, and that's
Okay.
that. Zach Wilson is going to have a sophomore slump. Not even that he had a good freshman campaign, but
Yeah.
it's just so annoying to me.
So he's pointing at you, Jack Lopez. We're calling you out by name. We hate
Absolutely.
you. Anyway, so no, yeah, I think the issue is for all those like freshman year. I forgot to write Justin Fields in there, who also did not have a good year. Um,
He's
I think
screwed too.
for like Trey Lance, sorry, for Zach Wilson specifically, who had the entire year to prove his worth and was not good. People hold on to the Josh Allen uh like one example out of a million that he had this miraculous turnaround, his third year and became the MVP, probably favorite right now, I would assume, or up there, that he is right now. But that's like, again, it's like one in a million that have made that leap. And I agree with you. I don't think Zach Wilson is going to be that good this year. I think there's a cloud over that organization. And yes, I will be the first to say I think that they had easily the best offseason of any team. One of the best off seasons of any team. The best draft, easily.
Yeah.
But is Zach Wilson the guy who's going to produce and win you games? Like, I just don't see it. I think they have very good weapons now. Like, I really love Elijah Moore. I love Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I love Brees Hall. But
yeah, they're not
Wilson
becoming a team that's rebuilding. And I still stand by what I said. I think they're going to regret not taking Justin Fields over Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I think the difference in the situations is Justin Fields went to a terrible organization too with the Bears. Difference being Justin Fields never had the starting job for the whole offseason because they said it was Andy Dalton and they kept switching. Similar to like how we were talking about with Jameis and Ryan Fitzmagic. Like they kept switching Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and he never actually got to be the starter, like that guy. So this is the real year for Justin Fields to have the full year of starting, and we'll see what he's worth. I think Justin Fields is a very good player, so I'd like to see him succeed, but I just don't see the same with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, they're both two very talented quarterbacks on bad teams that need to rebuild. So we'll have to see. It could be a long time coming for them. But one more topic I wanted to bring up before we get into the NBA Finals action, Jay, is just talking about we talked a little bit about the Dolphins earlier, but Sean Payton and how the Dolphins were trying to go after him. I don't really see him ever coaching another team other than the Saints, but the Saints just gave him that big contract. What do you think of that whole situation?
So I was listening to Mike Florio with PFT, Pro Football Talk, and he was talking the Rich Eisen show, and he was basically explaining that like there was this whole situation that was going to play out, and I believe it. That it's like, and it's kind of a conspiracy for sure, but like that there was this whole situation that was going to play out, that Tom Brady was going to retire. He was going to become a part owner of the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins were going to sign Sean Payton to this four-year, $100 million contract that has just come out recently that they were trying to do that. Then Brady unretires, but what they didn't account for was the Brian Flores piece of it, and that derailed all of that. I do think that come next season, Sean Payton will be a coach again, and I think he'll get an enormous contract, whether that's from like the Cowboys if they don't succeed with Mike McCarthy, which, to be honest, they're not really set up to. So I think that could happen. Or he could go elsewhere and maybe Tom Brady goes there. I think it's a really real possibility. They were also talking about how a few years ago, the Cowboys, do you remember the year that Anthony Davis declared that he didn't want to be with the Pelicans?
Yep.
So Mickey Loomis, who is it's like he's the assistant VP for the Pelicans, is also the GM, or was at the time the GM for the Saints. And the whole plan was to have Sean Payton be like trade him basically, and he would be the coach for the Cowboys. And what derailed that was, and that was all in place. And then what derailed that was Anthony Davis saying he wants out because he basically said, I don't want two stars from New Orleans leaving, both on my, basically on my, I don't know, reputation. So then that derailed that whole situation. So I don't know. I don't know how true it is. It's a conspiracy, really, but like it does really make you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does really
absolutely.
make you
We'll just have to
we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Good football talk, though. Let's get on to some NBA Finals action, and then after that, we can talk about some other news around the league. But what do you make of the finals so far? We've got a great series so far. Warriors are up 3-2, heading to Boston tonight for Game 6.
Yep,
I wanted the Warriors to win from the get-go.
I did too.
I said Warriors in 6 from the beginning,
Me too.
which is just a coincidence because the Warriors could have easily, after blowing Game 1, could have easily wrapped this series up in 5 games. They're clearly the better team in this series, but you can't sleep on Boston at home tonight. They're in front of their home crowd. They're a very good home team. What do you think will happen in Game 6 tonight?
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like the series in general has gone really back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think the end score hasn't really shown like how close these games have been, as well as how much of, like, for example, Game 5, they only lost by 10, Boston did, but it was actually a huge blowout. Come the fourth quarter, they were losing by like over 20, and then the bench players came in, and then score gets reduced to 10, whatever.
Yeah.
Tonight, I think the Celtics will win this game tonight. I wish the Warriors win, because what a screw you, like an FU moment to like do it in their stadium. Like that's awesome. But like you said, I mean, I think the Celtics are just overmatched right now. But they've put up a hell of a fight so far. Jason Tatum just hasn't been on this series.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown has, like, I don't know if you've noticed this too, but I've just seen Jaylen Brown has done insanely well in like the first quarter in multiple games.
Yeah.
Like he had 17 in the first quarter, I think in Game 3. And then he just disappears. And they need JJ Redick actually said it on First Take, but both of those stars have to have huge games just for them to be in the mix, because they don't have anything outside of those guys.
They don't.
You really think about it, like, sure, they get like some help from Peyton Pritchard, and they get some help from Marcus Smart, who hits the occasional 3. Al Horford occasionally scores. Robert Williams has been actually unbelievable for not being healthy.
Yeah, they have a lot of banged guys. Yeah. They have a lot of guys who are banged up.
Yeah,
but I agree with you. Everybody wants to see a Game 7. Everybody wants to see their team win on their home floor. But I don't know. I just want to see the Warriors win tonight, get it over with, wrap it up. Especially last game, the dominating performance they had, where they were up by 16. They blew the lead again, but then they took it back over and ran away with it at the end of the game. And that's the thing with the Warriors tonight. The key for them tonight is they know the Celtics in front of their home crowd. They don't want to disappoint, so they're going to come out firing them from all cylinders. But it just impresses me how well the Warriors played last in Game 5, and Steph, their best player, who's going to be the Finals MVP if the Warriors hold on, scored maybe it was 12 points. Did not hit a single 3-pointer in the game.
Yeah, he was 0 for 9 from 3.
Yeah, he did not play well. And Andrew Wiggins, who they've been, looking for to step up all year, it was as a NBA starter in the All-Star game.
Which still doesn't make sense.
But he really stepped up for them big time. Draymond, he'll be Draymond, but he needs to keep his cool. And if Clay and Steph,
he has more fouls than points right now.
He does. It's so sad, but they just have more weapons. They have so many weapons, with Steph's a weapon in himself, and that's really all they need. But then, Clay, you can't leave him open, and he hasn't really played well this series, but he's someone who could easily score 30 points tonight. And then Jordan Poole is just, he's been kind of quiet, but he's been playing well for them.
They left him out because he's such a defensive liability. So he's been playing less, but he really is a firecracker, like as a point guard. I guess he's like a shooting point. He's a score first point guard. But he's a firecracker. He will catch fire immediately.
Yeah, I think it'll be very similar to Game 4, where it's going to be down to the wire. It's going to be a very close game. And if the Warriors can somehow find a way to pull away, or the Celtics will find a way to pull away. But you have to give the Warriors a lot of credit for blowing game one that they should have won, bouncing back to tie it up, going down 2-1 on the road. You have to win road games if you want to be a championship winning team. And that kind of says it all, the story of tonight. They're going to have to be a road winning team if they're going to wrap it up and get Steph another championship ring.
So where do you think, I mean, this has been definitely a topic of discussion amongst like the major news outlets, but like say Curry wins his fourth championship, where does that put him all time?
Yeah, it's a great question because there's someone who said that it puts him over LeBron, and I don't think that's true at all. LeBron's just. I remember I was talking to somebody about it. I might have saw it on First Take. Somebody was saying, "Does this put Curry over LeBron?" Because this will be his fifth ring, his fourth ring,
fourth ring, I think,
which is more than LeBron will have. But LeBron, you can't sleep on him. He's just one of the greatest dominant players of all time. People forget that he went to 8 straight NBA finals. And most of them, he did not have the help around him that Steph's had throughout his career.
Especially when he was with the Cavs.
But, he's the greatest shooter of all time. Could arguably be one of, if not the greatest season he's had in his career, meaning the accolades he was able to achieve from becoming the all-time 3-point shooter to finals MVP to winning a championship. He didn't get the MVP this year, but he was definitely, at least for the first half of the season, in the discussion for that. You'd have to really look at the numbers, but does it put, I guess it's more of a counter question, does it put him in the top 5 of greatest players of all time?
I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to really think about it. I mean, I don't think you can take him over. Like MJ and LeBron will, and I don't even love LeBron, but like they will always be top 5 no matter. Like it's, they're 2 of the best players ever. So I think you have to put them both in it.
It's such a tough argument to be made because I personally putting him over Kobe, but there's a lot of people who would disagree with me on that.
You're putting him over Kobe? I could see that. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like there's an argument to be made. And no one has had a bigger impact on the game of basketball than Steph Curry has.
He redefined the game of shooting. And I even see myself doing this too, where I was literally playing basketball last night and I thought of this with when Clay had that breakaway layup and he passed it to Curry for 3, how you should always be told, when you're in 2-on-1 on the fast break, you run for the layup.
Yep.
But I saw myself fading to the 3-point line. Sure enough, I knocked it down. But it's just like it's not a I don't want to say it's not a smart play, but it's just not like a logical basketball play to be fading to the 3-point line on a fast break. It's a much harder shot than a contested layup. But
it changed everything because it's also partly with like, I mean, it sounds stupid, but like it's because it's 3 instead of 2 points. And Curry changed it also because, he walks past the half court line and you have to guard him. Mm-hmm. He can hit from anywhere. You see it in his warm-up videos. It's insane. Like he hits it over and over and over again, backs up to the logo, and then comes all the way back, not missing a shot. Like, I mean, sure, they're all like professional athletes, but I mean, I don't know anyone who could do it like that.
Yeah. So it'll be an exciting game 6 tonight. It'd be awesome to get a game 7, but I hope that the Warriors embarrass the Celtics on their home court.
You think the same, that Boston, or no, you think Boston will lose tonight?
Yeah, I think the Warriors are going to win tonight. As much as I'd like to see a game 7 in the NBA Finals, I think
that's where I'm saying that from.
Yeah, I think the Splash Brothers are going to really play well tonight. It's going to be a back and forth game, but we'll see. But another NBA news. One of an interesting topic of discussion, Jay, is the Brooklyn Nets and the dynasty that they supposedly had, and how injuries kind of plagued them 2 years ago, and they lost to the Bucks.
Sure.
Who ended up becoming the champions, but they just had so much hype around them, and then just everything from Kyrie not playing because of not wanting to get vaccinated to James Harden leaving and coming to the Sixers. And now there's just more controversy with Kyrie basically being like, I do not want to stay here unless I get this enormous deal. What does that say as Kyrie as a player? And what do you think Kevin Durant's going to do if Kyrie leaves and he's the only player on that team? Because if that's the case, they're not winning a championship realistically.
Yeah, I don't think Kevin Durant will let management let him walk.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Durant's too important to the franchise, because without him, then they're just stuck with Ben Simmons, and who wants that, right?
Yeah.
So, no, it's a great question. I think I hate Kyrie. Let that be known. I absolutely hate Kyrie, and it's not because he and Durant chose the Nets over the Knicks. I hate Kyrie.
You don't say that.
Oh, I said it. I have a lot of issues with Kyrie, but the fact that he claimed himself to be a martyr because he didn't get vaccinated is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. It is so stupid, and he is an idiot. He's the same guy who said that the world was flat. You're an idiot, dude. Yes, you are easily one of the most talented by pure talent.
And that's in my opinion, that's the only reason how he's able to get away with all this BS is
Totally
because he's so talented, and it's hard to let someone like him walk.
Absolutely.
Where I don't have a good example, but if Ben Simmons pulled this kind of crap, which he sort of did in a way, no team's going to put up with that.
Right. And it's just because he's immensely talented, and everyone knows that when he plays, they are better for it. That's the only reason. Him as a human, the fact that he played half the games and had easily the choice to be vaccinated and just play, as every other person on that team was. I just think if I'm the Nets, he's just too much of a headache for me, and I would see what I can get with him in a sign and trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sign and trade.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think that he won't go anywhere, though. As long as Kevin Durant's there, Kevin Durant is too smart to he knows Kyrie is his best chance of winning, and now that they don't have Harden either, they need to see what they have with Ben Simmons. They have to. So I think that they'll probably make some moves this offseason, or they have to, or they are screwed. So this Nets team, similar to how the Sixers, when they went all in with Harden, they pushed their chips to the middle. I mean, they recouped some value because of what the Sixers paid for Harden, but they pushed their chips to the middle when they got Harden, when they got Kyrie, when they got Durant, and they can't be a rebuilding team when you have an aging Kevin Durant on your team. So they don't have a choice, really, as long as he's on that team, I think.
Well, let me quickly throw something out there that I'm sure will change your feelings towards Kyrie pretty quickly. If he doesn't get the contract he wants, but someone like the New York Knicks are willing to offer it to him,
I would not be happy.
You would not be happy, even if he could make you guys a playoff team?
I don't care. I hate him. I don't care if he made us a playoff team. I would celebrate the Knicks. I would not celebrate Kyrie Irving.
I'm buying you his jersey.
No, I'll burn it.
You're wearing it.
I'll burn it.
You're gonna like it.
You can't make me. Kyrie Irving is just a shit human, and I want nothing to do with him on the Knicks. I'm very glad he never came there. I don't think that. I mean, this is kind of a separate conversation, and we could talk about this more next episode when we go over our NBA mock draft. Am I right? There's I don't know what the Knicks will do. They got screwed in the lottery again. Well, not really screwed. They stayed pat, but they haven't moved up in the lottery in like 20 years. Or maybe even longer. It's crazy. The NBA is rigged, but I don't know what they'll do. I'm curious what many teams will do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams, and this is I guess this is newsworthy almost. Is like the Hawks are willing to trade John Collins to move up in the draft. The Trailblazers, I know, and the Kings for some reason are two teams that are willing to trade their draft picks for like win now veterans. I don't understand why either. Both of them are very far off, I think so. But it'll be really interesting moving toward the NBA draft. We'll see more trades, I think, come draft night, similar to the two that we've seen with the Rockets and the Mavericks.
The Rockets getting Christian Wood was huge for them.
Other way around.
The Mavs getting Christian Wood was huge for them because they got to the Western Conference Finals. That team has so much talent with
they needed
Luka.
Rebounding.
Yeah, and Christian Wood has a lot of talent. If they can keep Jalen Brunson, there's no reason why they're not going to be able to get back to the Western Conference Finals again next year. After taking down the Suns, which was
Christian Wood is a big get.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That is a very big get. And so the total deal was Christian Wood went to the Mavericks. The Mavericks traded the 26th pick, Boban, who's a phenomenal actor. I love Boban.
Speaking of Boban, did you see Hustle?
I did not, but I saw that they were in it. The Sixers.
Yeah. Boban was in it as well.
Did you watch it? Was it good?
I did. I didn't love it. You'd think I would because of my love for Adam Sandler and basketball.
I love Adam Sandler.
But I don't know. I thought it was definitely worth watching. I just didn't think as itself it was like a great movie.
I know
it had everything I wanted. Just basketball, Adam Sandler incorporating in the city of Philadelphia, Adam Sandler being an agent and a coach. It had a good story to it, but you have to just kind of see it to understand. It's just like I don't know.
It's not about Juancho, right? Like, or I know that he's the star, Juancho Hernangomez.
It's more about Adam Sandler, I think, and him being an agent and the pull he had and how he was able to just go to a park and find players like Bo Cruz, who is Juancho Hernangomez, and find someone of his talent and able to get him from rags to riches. It's more about Adam Sandler, but a lot of it,
stuff like that does happen though. Like Giannis was playing at a gym. There's a whole story on him too, but so Boban, Trey Burke, who's nothing, Marquise Chris, who has actually been on the Rockets, so homecoming for him.
Yeah.
He's just not worked out anywhere after being picked like 6 or something like that, 7 by the Suns years ago when they drafted him and Dragan Bender. They have really done well since then. So that was one of them. I think it was a horrible, horrible deal for the Rockets.
I agree.
The Rockets, I guess, know that they're not going anywhere, but like Christian Wood is a young, very talented. I don't know if he's young anymore. Maybe he's like 27.
We talked about this in one of our other episodes before, but I believe they still have John Wall. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with him when or if he ever comes back.
You're right. They do have John Wall. I can't believe it. There was supposedly a trade in place with the Lakers, but it never came to fruition. I'm just curious how old Christian Wood is. He's 27, 26. He'll be 27 in September. So that's still a pretty young asset, I feel like. I get the Rockets are completely rebuilding, which makes sense. And they've got some talented guys, and they wanted to open up some time for Sengun. Who's a good player. But I don't know. I mean, they played really, really, really well down the stretch, actually, the Rockets.
Yeah, they still have Porter, who's very talented.
Yeah. He's so good. He's just such a horrible person.
Yeah, troublemaker.
Yeah, he's a troublemaker. Like that's why the Cavs got rid of him. And that's also why he fell so far in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then the other trade that happened was Denver trading JaMychal Green and to protect OKC. My God, Sam Presti cannot get enough of these freaking first round picks.
They're just like a kid in the candy shop. They have so many first round picks. They don't know what to do with them. So it's just like
So they just keep getting more.
complete rebuilding process for them. They're just going to draft all the rookies that they can and
hope some hit.
Hope it works out. That's kind of what the Sixers did, basically.
It's just like, at what point? I mean, they've definitely hit on some, right? But now they're getting to the point where like Shea is maybe too much money, or did he get an extension? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think he did. You'd have to look it up, but
I have to look this up. But Shea Alexander is kind of like, I guess, like outdating the other players on that team.
Yeah,
like Dort and I think like,
Josh Giddey had a good year.
Great, yeah. Josh Giddey had a great year. Let's see, contract. I'm curious. Oh yeah, so he did sign. Wait, what the hell? No way it was that much money. Okay, so he actually signed an enormous deal, Shea. Of August of last year, he signed a 5-year, $176 million deal. Holy shit. That's 35 a year. Wow. Way to go, Knicks. Way to miss that one again. Get his teammate who absolutely sucked, Kevin Knox. Good job. Anyway.
Yeah. They just they have so many draft picks this year. They have the 2nd and the 12th pick. So assuming that they take either Chet or Paolo.
I think it'll be Jabari Smith before Paolo.
I think Jabari Smith's going to go number 1.
Oh, then yes. Then you're right. Yeah.
And they love tall white guys on their team, so they'll probably take Chet.
Who's that other guy with the very long name who is like a 7-foot guy, but also so young? He has a really weird name. Okay, maybe that was just wrong of me to say, but
I think you're just making shit up.
Poikashevsky or something like that.
Pogachevsky. They have Pogachevsky on their roster.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
But yeah, I could see them taking Chet or Paolo, and then at 12, we'll talk about this, when we do our mock draft. But they could easily get a solid player like Mark Williams, who played really well for Duke.
Yeah, there's some really good players, and we'll talk about it more later. But I think that's
let's put a bow tie on this one.
Let's wrap it up. Gifted to my mom. Or dad, almost Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Ryan Shromsky, happy Father's Day.
Big Daddy Shromsky.
That's my daddy.
Please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on
they can comment if you want to comment.
Comment, yeah. Like, subscribe, comment. Something in that order.
Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram. Follow us individually on Twitter if you would like. Twatter. Facebook.
You can find me on Facebook.
Jason's you could follow Jason's OnlyFans page as well.
Dude. People aren't supposed to know about that.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of JumpStart Sports.
JumpStart Sports.